25 has just really been a long year. I mean, I found a lot of moments where I just have this rage just bubbling under the surface of my day. And today I just sort of snapped. I mean, it was just like the final straw. It might have been something that seems small to most people, but it was just it for me. Um, on Friday, President Trump was on Air Force One. He's being quizzed by reporters, and a woman who's works for Bloomberg, Catherine Lucy, she asked President Trump about Jeffrey Epstein, and he didn't like the question or he didn't like the way she asked it. It's not really clear, but basically he got really upset and he stuck his finger in her face and he was shaking it. And he's like, "Quiet, quiet, piggy." And I don't know, there was something about the image of that moment, right? Just the image of the President of the United States calling anybody a piggy, waving his finger in their face. It just launched me into this incandescent rage, right? I mean, it just not just the idea that the American president is degrading himself and degrading his office to the point where he's basically a carnival clown with nukes. Uh, Not just of the unwillingness of the rest of the journalists, basically to kind of go, oh, he called her piggy. No one stepped in, but mostly just the cowardice of the people that she works for, right? The executives at Bloomberg, right? And I mean, this is not the first time this has happened to her. Um, Over the weekend, she had another encounter where he was upset about a question that she asked about Tucker Carlson's interview with Nick Fuentes, the super right quasi-Hitlerish commentator, and he was really upset with her. Started going off about, yeah, he doesn't know why they hire her. She's a terrible reporter, blah 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 blah. And what was the reaction from Bloomberg executives? I mean, crickets, pretty much. I mean, maybe they privately went to her and said, "Ooh, sorry, he called you a pig. Oops." They certainly didn't say anything out loud. They didn't do the things that you would expect your boss to do for you, to put a public statement out to say, "Hey, look, this is not behavior that should be um, especially should not come from the president, but should not come from anybody, right?" Where was the headline on Bloomberg.com basically saying, the president called a reporter a piggy? Where was all the press corps, right? Who basically took this and just kind of went, oh, well, Donald Trump, Donald Trump. I mean, I know what I would have done. I basically would have, every mainstream press person would have said, look, we're not going to be on Air Force One next time. We're not going to talk to the president unless someone at the White House apologizes. And I know it's not going to happen for the same reason that Bloomberg executives didn't publicly do anything to support their journalists because everyone is afraid of losing access, right? They don't want to be targeted. They saw what happened with the Associated Press when the Associated Press refused to call the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America. They got booted off of the White House uh, beat. I get it, right? I mean, I cover show business. Access is an important thing. You don't want to tick people off if you don't have to. But at some point, you have to stand up for yourself, right? I mean, people will say, well, look, if we upset the White House, then what's going to happen? We won't have access. And my, sort of glib answer is just put on your big boy pants and you keep covering the president, even if you don't get to ask him the questions, which he will probably answer anyway, right? He needs the press, the mainstream press, more than the mainstream press needs him, right? I mean, he can fill Air Force One with all of these sycophantic, yes men who ask him questions about, yeah, how is it possible for a president to work this hard and be so handsome? But you know what? That doesn't do him any good. He wants that footage of him pushing back against the journalists, right? He wants those questions that his answers to get out there for people to cover it. That he needs that. He needs that as much as the mainstream press needs him. He also knows that he can push the mainstream press around because they're too scared to find out what happens if he comes after them. Look, access is important for any journalist, right? But access without respect is just an empty exercise. I mean, agreeing to be someone's lapdog so that you get to sit on their lap and be close to the center of power is meaningless, right? I mean, I don't know. I don't know why so many of us, so many journalists are cowards, but we are. And this is something that's become painfully apparent in the last year. And as a journalist, it's depressing. All I can promise to you is I will not do that. I will push people as hard as I need to get the answers that my readers deserve. And I'm hoping that other journalists to do the same. Thanks.